This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dornall and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Monday, January 27th, 2025. Can you believe we are almost a month into the year already?
Mm-mm-mm.
What
It has.
one whole 12th of the year is already gone, just sliced away like that.
I'm having trouble accepting it myself, but it's
Mm.
been an exciting year so far.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Did you have any news to talk about today?
Not today. I'm still enjoying my replay of Babylon 5, and
Oh, what season are you in?
I'm still in the first one.
Oh,
Th-
yes,
These
that's
are
so.
old. These are the old 26 episode seasons, so
Mm,
almost finished with it. I
goodness.
love the actors in that.
Oh man, the Jakar Lando thing is just so good.
Yes.
Um, the only thing I wanted to do was do a quick pocket review of a movie called Cuckoo. Um, it's a horror movie that came out last year. Didn't do very well in the theaters, and I've been waiting to watch it. Unlike it's a Euro horror movie. It was made in Europe by um, like a Swedish guy or a German guy or something. He wrote it, he directed it, and I've been waiting for it to come out on streaming or something so I could watch it. And it finally came out sometime this month. So I watched it last week, and the first 2/3 of the movie is this really, slow boiling, ratcheting up the tension, um, really good, uh, tense horror movie. And I don't know if you saw any of the trailers for it. Did you catch any of them?
No.
No.
Okay. I saw several of the trailers in the theaters and also online. And the trailers give you a good idea of what the movie's about. Maybe too good, because they kind of spoil some of what the movie's about. But then, like, the last third or quarter of the movie just completely ruins everything that comes before it.
Oh my.
And I don't want to I don't want to exactly give away what happens in the movie, but the very end of The Omega Man with
Oh, with
Charlton
Charlton
Heston,
Heston. Yeah, it's a good one.
where in the book, the point of the whole book is that you're supposed to think that he's kind of the bad guy because all the vampires are normal people now, and the human being who's trying to save the human race is the bad guy. And so it's like one of those faux intellectual things where it's like, oh man, think about it, like he's become the monster, man, because he sneaks into their houses at night and takes their blood and kills the vampires. So, like, he's become Dracula to the vampires, man. Think about that. Um, and that kind of sentiment, without being the same in details and without giving away the ending of the movie, that kind of sentiment where it's wrong to defend yourself kind of underlies the rest of the ending of the movie, and it ruins what has been up until then a really good movie. And so there's going to be a lot of people who will say, who have seen the movie and will say, well, yeah, but that just like totally makes sense because well, that's just what the character would do. And I would make 2 points. One, that's not what the character would do because of events that happen earlier in the movie. She's been scared and by some unearthly things that happened. And that terror could have been built up on and carried through to the end of the movie. And that brings me to the second point. Stories are constructed by storytellers. So that's only what, quote unquote, would have happened because the storyteller tried to make it that way. And he actually did a bad job because that isn't what would have happened because of this character. This character didn't feel the attachment that we were told she did. In fact, she would feel the opposite, and she wouldn't have gone that way, especially if they had built up on, if they had repeated those same unearthly events from early in the movie. And I apologize for being vague because I'm really not trying not to spoil the movie.
Yeah, right.
So one, no, the character wouldn't have done that. And they had to omit events that they were building towards early in the movie, just all of a sudden drop them. So they were kind of dumb. You're like, well, why did you have that in the movie at all if you were just going to drop them after the first third of the movie? Why didn't you continue on with them? And it's all of a sudden, oh, because you were pushing for this ending that otherwise didn't make any sense. That not only didn't make any sense, but that was kind of a downer ending anyway. It kind of ruined the movie, this particular ending. And you were doing so for apparently abstract reasons. And I have to say that I think one of the reasons why an otherwise excellent horror movie didn't do very well at the theaters is because it didn't deliver on a compelling story. And had it delivered on a compelling story with a good ending, to where either this character carried through and did what she would have done, or the choice was taken out of her hands and the monster escaped, either of those would have been satisfying endings. But they didn't do either of those. And instead they went for this, you hear people on Twitter all the time talking about how poor and helpless and beat up the bugs from Starship Troopers are, how they're just being picked upon by the evil old humans. They kind of went for that kind of ending where the, genocidal bugs are being picked upon by the evil old humans.
Poor defenseless bugs.
Oh no, right?
Not that there are any bugs in this movie. I'm not saying that. Just that's an analogous situation. So they could have settled for either one of those other endings, but they didn't. They went for the poor bugs are being picked upon by the mean humans ending, and it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense in the terms of creating a satisfying story. Doesn't make sense in terms of what this character would have done. And it ruins what was, up until that point, a really effective, tense, and enjoyable horror movie. So, unfortunate. I can't recommend it unless you want to watch 2/3 of a horror movie.
Yeah. Well, now people are going to have to go watch and see how bad it really is.
So that's my review of Cuckoo. A lot of the rest of it is really excellent. The performances are really good. They build suspense quite effectively. It's very tense. It really is building up as a good movie. Then they just waste all of that, and I think that's why it didn't do very well at the box office. Okay, do you have anything else to add?
No. I'm good for now. I mean, as always in the gaming space, if you're not on Twitter, if you're not following the bros, if you're not reading Bradford Walker's blog, he's in the chat here. We love to see you there. You're missing out. If you like gaming and everything like that, we love that stuff here on the Geek Gab. It's for the benefit of our guest here. Absolutely check that out. I don't have anything else to say for the moment. I've got something cooking though, because there are rumors of a vast alignment-based battle going on, a Bronstein game where we're picking out all 17 possible alignments from the Dungeons and Dragons guide, and that proves to be something exciting. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while, and so I'm excited to see the bros pick this up.
Nice.
That's all I have to say about that, D-Dub.
Okay. Do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the show. We've got Hojo, creator of the Mythicals comic book. This is cool to see. You've got a new issue on fundmycomic.com, which is new to me. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. You can find it on Kickstarter too, if like you're into that sort of thing. So I'm everywhere, pretty much every platform that'll have me. Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it. Making
So
stories.
I'm not familiar with you or your work or anything. Full disclosure, I'm not even a comics guy. I barely even read books. So tell me all about yourself and what you're doing here.
So I came up with this idea about 20 years ago when I was in the army. It'd be cool to have like a team of like a government. Would start off as like an army team of like monsters taking out the trash, so to speak, and just evolved from a nightmare, I guess, like the villain, and then it just progressed and progressed. And a guy saw me like reading comics that I had sent to me, and he was like, "You read comics?" I was like, "Yeah, obviously." So he's like, "I draw," and so we came up with a bunch of some character designs and stuff like that, and said we could get in with a indie company called CrossGen, but they were out of business when we got back. So life happens, a wife happens, I got kids now, and then like I don't know, I just started seeing like comics in pop culture in general. Like I felt like I was being forced out or something. So I was like, you know what? I'm one of those people. I like pizza during COVID. I learned to make pizza. I learned to make my own beer. So I was like, I do it myself. I didn't know all these people were doing it themselves too. So find a little community and a little in a niche market of a niche market. So it's working out pretty good so far.
That's great. That's great. So I'm gonna put this Fund Me here on screen for anybody who's watching on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Boop. There's the Mythicals right there. So this is the third issue.
Mhm.
And so tell me a little bit more. So you said that you had this idea of a team of monsters doing good stuff. So is this a superhero comic then?
Almost. You know, I get they don't really have matching team uniforms yet, but that's a plot point where the guy like one of the guys, he's like in his 40s and he's like they don't get his 90s references and he's like we all got to have uniforms. It would be much cooler that way. And there's a joke about his pouches that was a big thing in the 90s with comic books. Like everybody had all these pouches. And
Yeah,
so
what's his name?
Rob
The guy
Liefeld.
who Rob Liefeld. Yep,
Yeah.
the patch
And
master.
so
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. And so I was like, all right. Like I'd never made comics before. Did a lot of research, did a lot of reading, a lot of practice writing. Wrote so many stories. So I'd always done it like and kind of kept it secret. Like took a creative writing course when I was in the army, just to be with this chick. But I liked it so much I hung around.
Many such
And
cases.
and so I was an only child, so I read a lot, but like also I did sports and stuff. Like I literally hung out with everybody, and I still do that now. Like online, some of my friends don't like that I talk to. It's weird, and I don't care. Grow up, but so I was like, I'll do it myself. Came up, refined the idea, distilled it down, ran it by some people. Mike Barron, who's an industry legend, wrote The Punisher for a long time. He's like, you got something here. I was like, oh, okay, great. And he's like, now go make this better. I was like, oh shit. So more work went into it, and like it evolved from like a military into like almost like a paramilitary covert thing, like kind of like Wildcats. Like that was a big thing in the 90s, like Jim Lee. That's kind of one of the books that launched Image Comics. So I'm a child of that generation, so I can't help but kind of do it, I guess. So I came up with this horror aesthetic, and it's like an investigation agency now, like kind of like Ghostbusters, kind of like it's like the monster version of Men in Black with a little bit of X-Files, but no aliens.
I get you. You get the horror aesthetic here in your.
Yeah.
There's a sample
Yeah.
page here where it's like looks like an autopsy of a zombie or something.
Yeah, she's dead. She's super dead.
Extra dead.
Like life force sucked dead. And that's like the first book. It's like how Men in Black is set up. Like he finds out aliens are real, then he goes to work. The aliens are working there. Same thing here, but with monsters. And so issue 3 is kind of she's been there a couple days, and it's the first case, and she's got to come in here and overhaul because the government doesn't like. I worked for the government. I was in the army for a while. They don't like to update things. They always do it until it's too late, So they're kind of in the 90s on like Windows 95. She brings everything into the 21st century. And
well, I hope that doesn't mean cloud computing.
No. She's not silly.
I'm just being a smartass.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah, and so we got Human Resources is now this talking cat who does not like these people at all. Like he just wants to sit in his library and read, and he's got 7 pets. Because when you have a cat, you're their pet. He's got 7 or 8 pets that he can't stand being around. But I mean, I wouldn't say can't stand being around. He would much rather be in his library reading. And so we got a magician here. It's difference between her. Nancy Moon is I needed a vehicle for the reader to experience everything in real time and like get introduced to the world, so I don't have to drop these massive word balloons with all this lore and bore people. And we get monster fights. So she's a witch. It's different from a magician. So, and this one is kind of how he explains like the rules of magic, so to speak. And then we get into issue 2. She met everybody, which is like this 5,500-year-old siren from Thessalonia who is obsessed with social media. You think about it, if you've been like changing identities, how Cher is, multiply that by like centuries. It's the new thing every time.
Whatever's collecting eyeballs. That's where she wants to be.
The current thing. I support the current thing. She is all that girl, but she's sweet. And then we had to go get the werewolf out of retirement. Obviously, he didn't want to come out of retirement, so issue 3 opens up with him in a cage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you got Lucas, who is like the smartass. He thinks he's the star of the book. Like if you go back and look at my YouTube and stuff like that and look at the first trailer, he is the animated guy that drops down and breaks the fourth wall and tells everybody to be quiet and shoots the narrator. And so issue 3, it's a case. An immortal serial killer. Now let's go find him. And there are a lot of payoffs from issue 1 where people are like, "Oh, what's this mean?" They're like on a review, like, "I don't understand this." But like, just bear with me. It's storytelling. It's comic books. You have to show, not tell so much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And this is the this is the HR
is-
that you're talking about
Yeah.
on the front
Samuel.
cover.
Yeah, he's got like a little piece of his ear cut off, kind of like Splinter from the Ninja Turtles.
Very nice.
Again,
Very
you pull
nice.
from what you know.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. So, other than obviously you're a product of your culture and your upbringing and everything like that. So, um, obviously, other than '90s kids who love, they've read a bunch of stories like this, and they want more of that sort of classic um, comic book feel that it looks like you've got here.
Yeah.
Um, who is this for?
It's just for anybody who just wants a good, good entertainment. It's not like too gory. It's not too extreme. It's not. Well, anime is a whole different thing. It's not deconstructing people. Yeah, I'm gonna break down characters and build them up, but that's just it's called a character arc. It's decompressed, I guess you would say, and it's only gonna be 13 issues, so it's gonna be one complete loop, and so it's a nice little ride.
Oh, that's good to know. You've
we're
got the
gonna
whole thing written out so far?
Oh yeah. I'm not like completely done with the last couple of scripts, but I got some time.
So you're definitely somewhere closer to the Babylon 5 part of the spectrum than Lost.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, that's what I always say. Like, he wrote all 5 seasons of it and then pitched it, and then Deep Space Nine stole it. But anyway, yeah, and I get to work with an industry legend, the guy who colored Spawn in the '90s. So
Outstanding.
It's insane, and it was always a dream. I like telling stories, and people responded to the first one. I made more in the second one. This one, the economy is rough, so not as much as the last one, but still, I mean, people are still responding to it. Like, it's going somewhere. Like, at the end of this, like, we're trying to find these 8 artifacts, to stop the end of the world, but they're all historic, because I love history, and we get to go in this little Indiana Jones type romp. Everybody gets their own little issue to shine. We fill in a lot of backstory with people, like, because in this one, the werewolf and the vampire, obviously, one of the covers, they have a little reunion and it doesn't go so great. Not so happy. So we get the backstory on that, the history on that, and we get to go world hopping. Like, it's the Mythicals. Like, it's mythology all over the world. So, like, we get to go to Egypt, Greece, England. So
sounds like fun. Do we get to actually answer the age-old question of what happens when a vampire bites a werewolf and a werewolf bites a vampire?
Nothing here. It's too much to explain. Nothing. You have I don't know, something that I don't know. Nope. No. Nothing happens here except for they just get really pissed off at each other. Somebody's got to back down.
That is an acceptable answer.
And like, it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because I inject the humor, because I can't. That's what's missing from some comic books, is like that some, I wouldn't say necessarily say slapstick, but there's something that makes you just like snort and you read it like, a guy, what a douche, and then you just, because this is an army unit, it's a military type unit, as serious as you are, because I've been in some serious stuff, man. Somebody will fart and everybody just starts laughing, but any minute, like an RPG can come in and blow up your Humvee, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to cut the tension like that. And then with a horror book, it's hard to take it the other way and wield it and just be like, look at this. Oh my God, you look at this. And a page turn, you're like, oh my God, look at his face. Get some cream. It's a hard undertaking with a team book. If I probably know then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done this. I'd have did a different project, because they're like, oh, team books are so hard to write. But like my friend Jason Sandberg says, all of the characters just seem like they fit, like that they are perfectly balanced. Like, everybody has a role, and everybody, it's a team. Like, and it's going to be like, at the end, it's a family. They just don't want to admit it, because Lucas, he's 43 years old. He doesn't have a wife or kids. He doesn't have anything else. He goes home and watches probably Rambo back to back to back. Maybe skip the third one. That's not so great.
I want to dig into that, because it's interesting that you said that team books are so hard to write. Maybe from a comics point of view, But from what you've said of your background, I don't think you could do it any other way.
Yeah.
Your background coming from an idea, with your army friends, and you know, I do want to ask about two things sort of related to that, which was, how do you do the horror aspect? Because I have a feeling that you're not just saying, yeah, look, here's Dracula, here's Wolfman, right?
Yeah. You got to build
So
that up like
what is the horror aspect? What is horrible about it? How does it compare to, say, like a Swamp Thing or other supposedly horror comics?
oh, you got this like it's just like a satanic pope is the bad guy in the first couple issues, and everybody's like, oh my god, but he's got oh man, his backstory is so interesting. So like he tortures a priest. Don't worry, everything works out in the end when it comes to that. The bad guys get punished. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil that. So to be able to balance that, like to turn that creep factor up, and then the next one slide back into an interview where, like, okay, we can breathe a little bit, and then something weird happens in the interview, like, oh, here we go, it's perked up, because it's like a thriller too, because at the same time, like, it's the horror is mixed almost with like a mystery, because we have like I said, the X-Files factor, like she's getting these strange texts, like almost like Neo in the Matrix, like, don't trust these people. None of them. Like, not like, don't trust him, don't trust her, don't trust these people. And so it's just weird. Like there are times that like with the villain, like he's so bad, but like you almost, like, people are just like, he was so bad in the first one, it was just like a page and a half, like a Jaws in the water type thing, because it happens in Spain. These people don't know that none of this is going on yet. All of this stuff keeps happening, and it's all leading her to them for this. Like, there are plans within plans within plans. I guess I'm not going to rip Dune too much, but the horror aspect of it, it's almost easy because of what I know, like, because I read a lot of like Vault of Horror and House of Mystery and Tales from the Crypt, like the easy stuff. It's all about the page turn and like dialogue. See, I'm like, with dialogue, I mean, I don't know how other writers are, especially comic writers. I say it out loud, or like in the shower or something, I'll mumble it under my breath. My wife will walk back like, "What did you say?" I'm like, "Nothing."
I'm talking in character, honey.
Yeah, you have to. Like, I learned that from Mike Barron. He said, "Talk your character should talk like people talk. Use contractions." Like, I hate it when I see something. Don't try to sound so smart and not use contractions. You're silly. But
of course. But it's one of those things that it sounds obvious, but if you haven't been doing it, then.
And I've met so many people, like, in the military, and like, I was involved in music stuff before the army, and a little bit after, and like for I guess a writer or something, like, I'm not as introverted as many, because I mean, I am a nerd. I mean, but like, I can talk to people, so it makes it, I don't know. I've had so many silly conversations with people in the military, and I'm just like, really? Like, that's funny. I'm going to use that one day.
You got some support in the chat. Back to Corbin says that the fantasy science fiction genre could use some more team books.
Yeah,
I think you got a bit of a support. Good to have you at the show, Beck.
I think that's sword and sorcery genre.
Sword and sorcery.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah, because everybody wants to write the Conan, or everybody wants to write the John Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
But sometimes people expect a team out of their comic books.
Yeah. And we get into some Arthurian legend stuff down the road, I'm not gonna lie. And that's the thing, like I said, it's mythology. Like, it is my sandbox. Like, I can do whatever I want. Like, I mean, I don't really have any rules because I'm not using characters that aren't mine. Like, these are all my stories. I mean, characters pulled from history, sure, but I mean, you have demon possessions that just, like, an exorcism, that's just like part of the gig. It's like a daily thing, a day of the job. So, like, I never read Hellboy growing up. I saw the movies, but like, I've gone back and read a few. I'm like, because I was so worried. I was like, oh, I'm gonna read this and like, oh, it's gonna be like it's nothing like BPRD or anything. I could never compare it to that. It's one of the greatest characters of all time, I think. Just like the design of Hellboy is great.
Oh, it's classic.
Yeah.
Actually, I just got in on the Humble Bundle for Hellboy. It was like $20 for PDFs of every single Hellboy comic ever done.
I think The Crooked Man, it's probably one of the best comics. It's been in my top 10 comics of, well, I wouldn't say of all time, maybe the past 30 years. For sure.
That's amazing. Like, I'm gonna have to ask you for a list of best comic issues to read ever, because I said I'm not a comics guy. I've just read, like, I've read the classic, famous Alan Moore stuff, right?
No, I was gonna say you can't get any better than the Alan Moore Swamp Thing. I just read it not too long ago, actually.
I really liked it. I'm not sure why they. Sorry, that's what I was thinking about horror, because that is my experience with horror comics, and some of it is, really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I think mostly the stories that didn't involve the Swamp Thing, other than
he came out of that House of Mystery. Like that's where he first popped up.
Oh,
Yeah, him and Constantine, all of them, I think.
I had no idea. I have received an education. Yeah, I'd love to hear about some of those best comics sometime. But I want to talk about your stuff. One thing that we've talked to a lot of authors with similar backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of vets, a lot of Marines, a lot of Army guys, and they tend to go into a military science fiction sort of thing. They don't usually do comics. They usually do prose fiction, and it's usually military science fiction. They just sort of write about, maybe it's a military in outer space,
Space Marines,
like Space Marines, or Nick Cole and Jason Ensbach have their Star Wars, Afghanistan, but it's Star Wars book series, Galaxy's Edge.
Yep.
That sort of thing. How did you end up on this tack, and what of your Army influence or Army experience has influenced the book?
Lucas is based on a bunch of people I used to know, and people I grew up with. The quarterback, he was better than everybody, and he knows it. It's just that guy. But it's the guy you want leading the charge. Being the tip of the spear. So you need that G.I. Joe hoo guy. But I've always been interested in monsters. I was obviously werewolves and vampire movies. My mother put me in therapy, I guess you would say, but not really. She let me watch. You guys have seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3, right? She let me watch that when I was 8 years old in second grade.
Good grief!
You realize there are boobs in here? Never mind. Never mind. I'll watch it. I don't care. Like Nightbreed, like Clive Barker. I was watching all that stuff because my mom was into that. That was our bonding time. Because single mom. My uncle was my dad, pretty much. Not in the West Virginia way. I'm in the other state. I'm in the other state. So I don't know. I just felt like at the time, I was into Vertigo stuff, and I was like, there aren't that many horror comics ever really since the Comics Code. That pretty much killed them, and they never really got back to where they were. You have it from time to time, you see Sandman, that's in that horror genre. Sandman is a very a different beast, really. I don't know how to describe it. It's fantasy, it's horror, it's surrealism. It's that should be on your list. But also, go ahead, man.
If I was to name 2 volumes of comics that I think are really tops that I would recommend people, the first one would be Hellblazer, Dangerous Habits.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a 6-volume series, and it's hardcore horror.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I know.
and the second would be Astro City Confession.
Oh man, I
Um,
haven't thought of Astro City in a while. You know your stuff.
uh, and Astro City Confession is um, it's about um, a kid who comes to a superhero city who uh, catches the attention of a superhero and gets to be his sidekick, and finds out that the superhero is not who he expected at all.
Yeah,
And it delves deep into what it's like to carry burdens and still be a good person. Um, and it has legitimate moral depth to it. It's a morally worthwhile book. Um,
got some of
but
those
they're
Alex
both
Ross
excellent
covers for
reads.
Astro City. Oh my god,
Did you say Astro City?
Astro
Yeah,
City, like Kurt Busiek. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
That sounds awesome.
But Alex Ross did a bunch of covers. That's back when he was like just. I mean, he could do. I mean, he could still. He puts out stuff every day. It's all he does is just draw stuff or paint stuff.
So tell me again about your artist. You said the cover was a really famous cover artist, but who's doing all the stuff on the interior? Same guy?
Well, I had to change with each issue. Like problems. The first guy, he just wasn't ready for prime time. We pivoted. And then that guy, we had some delays because he was secretly working for this guy named Todd McFarlane, doing the Superman tie-in book. So he had to put me on the back burner. Rightfully so. It happens, man. I understand. I'm like, giving you like, I probably guarantee you less the page rate than what you're getting from them.
Sure.
So, well, I don't know. It depends on what they're paying talent nowadays. But so like he had some other stuff lined up, so we had to pivot again. He was already on the short list for issue 2, so he was familiar with the characters and the thing, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on board." And you could tell with this one, like he knocked it out of the park with this one, and I feel like we did level up with each one, so I'm really happy with where we are now. And like got 2 amazing covers, and we got Jimmy Reyes who inked David Finch a lot to ink this cover right here that you're looking at, and Dan Kemp from Spawn colored it. So it's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's rewarding. I like to tell stories.
Oh, that's great, and I'm glad that you're able to really get all those amazing people to work with you, and only on the 3rd issue.
Yeah.
So it seems like you've got a lot of traction here. Will we be able to pick up all the books through
Yeah,
this?
there's a catch-up tier. I've designed it for everybody's economic standings, so you can get the cheapest catch-up tier, which is it's like 78 pages plus like fan art and some stuff like that, and that's like $20.
Oh, nice.
And you can, if you want to just get, everybody gets the physical. You get the first issue with the flip cover, reprint, and then you get to choose your cover of issue 2 or 3. Or if you want to get everything, I have a higher tier. It's all on what you want to spend and what you want. And I have add-ons, like if you want to put a black and white sketch, it's like a blank sketch cover on the front and black and white on the inside, and I've threw a black and white cover on the back. So, I mean, his line art's so good. For the then I have a standee of the cat because he was such a hit. Like, it's funny. I was just on a stream earlier. It's like the characters you don't think will be well received, or like I wouldn't say like I didn't think people would like him. I just didn't think people would think much of him. I just thought he was like a little bit comedy relief, like just the guy who's telling the audience like really what's going on. But everybody's just like, oh my god, he's so funny. He's such an asshole. But as a cat would be. So it's well thought out. I will say that. Everything makes sense. Like these first 3 issues is kind of like it's a very good first arc to where like after this we're hitting the ground running. the next issue, it pretty much opens up Ghostbuster style. Like they're coming in from catching whatever bad guy, Beastie, and she's just like, "Oh, this stuff's so gross." And then we head to a bar where all the monsters hang out. We got to get some inside information. So I took all the best parts of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and like cut out some of the like the Angel Buffy drama. You know.
Well, that's good because the bad parts of Buffy are really bad and the good parts are really good.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It kind of stumbled a little bit, and it should have maybe stopped at 5 seasons. I would say that.
Yeah, I I was telling you before in the green room, my niece is watching
Yeah.
through it all, and I had to explain. Yeah, it was actually not supposed to be a 6th season.
No, you tell me those 3 nerds. Come on, man.
Yeah, Warpig's theory on that is hilarious. Is that they do you want to tell it, DW?
Oh yeah, let me hear it.
No, go ahead.
The theory on why the villains are so awful in season 6 is because they killed the best villains earlier in the series, and the villains get progressively worse as the series goes on because the forces of evil have to send their second and third strings.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's yeah, there's definitely the bench squad. The bench squad, yeah. For sure. I don't really remember many standalone like monsters or monster of the week. I remember the obviously the musical episode. Missy, I don't like. Did she work at like a burger joint or something? Somebody was like putting people into the food. I don't
Yep.
know. That was lame. It's just it was just lame. Like I'm like, really, Sarah, can you just like speak up, honey, and just say, I'm not reading this shit.
Well, this is the great thing about you sitting down and writing your own stuff,
That's it.
because
Double Meat Palace. Yep, that's it.
Double Meat Palace.
Yep.
I actually really liked that episode.
And then like what is it? Willow got addicted to magic and wrecked the car with it. I mean, come the hell on.
Right.
This is like, you know what this is? This is at what was it? God,
Reefer Madness or something.
No, that like that whole scene. It was like, gosh, it was Scott Wolf. Party of Five. That's what it was. That was Party of Five. Stop it. Oh
No,
god.
just
But then,
see, the thing was, okay, if you're gonna make magic some addictive thing, like like it causes an addiction,
Willow should have been a junkie by the
don't
time he graduated.
you don't have to make it work exactly like heroin.
I know.
Like they're all lying around in
like,
this room on couches.
It was like an opium den.
Floating on the ceiling. I'm like, oh, that's not an analog for heroin at all.
Yeah, it's like, look, magic is its own thing. So if magic is addicting, they're not going to be lying around half comatose in a room, all dreamy like. They're going to be doing magic and be like blissed out because of all the things they're doing. And they're going to be, transforming random stuff and conjuring different things and, afflicting other people with magic. If you're going to be making magic so that it's addictive, you need to be making the magic itself, them using the magic to be what's addictive, not that it's exactly like something else. That was just dumb. If you're going to use something, you need to make it what it actually is, not a copy of something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, make it cost something and not like
like just as an example, you have a werewolf. If you're going to say, yeah, changing into werewolf form is addictive, right? What you're going to show is the werewolf changing into a wolf, running through the woods, chasing down deer, hunting deer, feeding, acting like a wolf, right? Because it's the wolf that's addictive. You're not going to show him changing into a wolf and then the wolf just lays down like he's just had a big hit of heroin, okay? Because it's the changing into a wolf that's addictive. You're not going to show him being addictive like he's just taking heroin. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Nailed it. And you get the benefit of, so I want to hear more about the stuff that influenced you besides Buffy, but you get the opportunity to write your own stuff, and you are not a writer's team on the one hand, but on the other hand, you don't have to try and fill out a 26 episode season. You get to fill in exactly 13 episodes with exactly whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you get to cut all the fat. You get to trim all the fat.
That's what Hemingway said. You have to kill your darlings.
Well, I hope that isn't spoilers for your team characters. Or maybe it is.
No. One of them's already dead.
Well, I guess I don't have to buy the catch-up issues now. Outstanding. So what else? So you've got, you've got your monster comics, your horror comics, your Buffy the Vampire Slayer, team versus the monsters, that sort of thing. Yeah. What else do you bring in? What else are you bringing in here?
So like how you'll see like in a future issue how a room is cleared. Like you're gonna see it panel by panel. That's how it's done. Like it's gonna be like the realism. I got all that. But like the mystery part, that's just what I want people to like. Who is on the other end of this text message? Just to get people like invested. To support it, like invested. That's what I meant. Like invested, like characters. Like that's what comic books, like especially a team book. Everybody had their favorite character, right? Like I was a big fan. Like there's this group called the Defenders. They made a Netflix show. Nothing like at all what I'm about to say. They called it a non-team, and like they had their core members, which is like it's like the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Namor, the Submariner. You wouldn't think that would work, but that's what made it funny. Like I mean, it not funny, but the egos and the clash and like Hulk and Namor going back and forth, and then they would have a rotating cast of members, like this thing called like Defenders for a day, and like they called it a non-team. Like it was just basically a bunch of people shoved together. They shouldn't be hanging out. They would never hang out outside of this, but this is what they do. And so I kind of brought that to it too. And then I have obviously my I guess comics Mount Rushmore of writers, like people I looked up to. Like I'm a huge Hulk fan. That's why like one of these issue 2, the werewolf transformation, that's like from a Hulk cover. It's like an homage. And so I've taken like Peter David wrote X Factor Afterward, which is almost like this. Like Quicksilver is like he's a jerk. He's an asshole. So having his interaction, but like he broke it down one time, like why is Quicksilver such an asshole? Like he's super fast, but he was like, you have any idea what it's like to be watching everything move in slow motion and waiting for you guys just to hurry up? It's exhausting. Like I never thought about that. I was like, you look at it from the other way, and the way he explained it so well, it was just masterful.
That's a really good take on the character. What a great! It shows that the writer's thinking through a lot of second and third order effects of it.
Yeah. And that was a government sponsored team. They were put together. They were placed here. Like they were recruited, and they shouldn't really get along. And they mostly don't. Like no team, I guess, unless you're the Fantastic Four, really gets along all the time. Even the Avengers have problems. So.
Got it. Well, I'm low on questions now, Hojo. Tell me what else. What else do you want to say about the book or anything?
if you really want to be entertained and just maybe laugh, and I can scare you too. And at the end of the day, like what they say, it's just a story, bro. Like it's characters. Like you're gonna feel for them. Like Nancy just wants to help people. Like she really is a good person. They really do exist. Um, Bad things happen to good people, and at the end of the day, that if you read this book, you're gonna see that there is a plan. Like, and if you're like a good fan, if you're a fan of like old fashioned comic books, and you thought that they've lost their way, and like they're putting too many of certain social issues outside of storytelling, I don't care what you do with the issues, just tell a good story. Um, this is what you want. Like at the end of issue 1, there's a cliffhanger, like, and a twist that you won't see coming. Issue 2, game on. Issue 3, like at the end of issue 3, it's just you're gonna step back and look and be like, holy hell! Like there were Easter egg. Like people, I let a guy read the script because it's. I mean, we're not done with issue 3. I got about 3 pages left to ink and color, not me, and then it's off to letters and then pre-press and all that, yada yada yada. Probably going to print in a couple weeks, and so it's a lot that's gone into this. Like thought, love. Like I love comic books. Like this is what I want to do. This is what I do. I set out to do it, and this is like I've done it. Like can't nobody can take this away at this point. But like if you just want something different, like that's what it is. It's something different. Just give it a shot.
I love it, man. I'm so happy you came here to talk about all this stuff. Warpig, do you have any other questions or anything for our fine comics author here?
No, I just want to say that about the innocence thing, that's the core of horror. Is that bad things are happening to innocent people,
Yes.
and that's why it's horrifying. If bad things are happening to tough people, it's a war comic. And if bad things are happening to guilty people, it's a superhero comic. But when bad things are happening to innocent and helpless people, that's a horror comic. That's why it's horror, is because you're horrified that here's someone who's completely innocent, who's being uh, and powerless, who's being afflicted by these supernatural or sometimes completely natural uh, beings. So yeah, that's exactly it.
Boom.
Cool. And I love you're coming from the same place. I love hearing people my age or thereabouts making great stuff based on sort of what we know and what we remember. I'm really excited for you, and I hope this thing blows up.
Oh, thanks. We're getting there. One book at a time. One book at a time.
Cool. And as you said before, man, you got 13 total coming. Oh yeah.
Yep. And then we're done.
All right.
Oh, and we should say a link to the Fund My Comic is in the description underneath the video.
That's right. And there's a Kickstarter link too, you said.
Yes. You want me to get you that? I can put it in the private chat. Make it quick.
Yeah. If you want to do it later, I can put it on in the instructions, or in the instructions in the description. We'll get that in the notes, and so everybody can check that out. And I hope you do. We got more chat. Brian Renninger is on Daddy Warpig's point. He wants to talk about slashers. They're partly about punishing the morally guilty. The horror comes from the failings being super common.
Yeah.
Sort of like a tragedy, like your moral flaws have caused you to fall victim to whatever it is. I see what he's saying.
Yes. Definitely some morality is definitely malleable in this universe with certain people, and the consequences or rewards of such, you know. But in the end, there's always a consequence, at least in this world.
Well said. And I do have that Kickstarter link up. I'll put it up on the screen for anybody watching on YouTube. It will be in the comments. The name of the book is The Mythicals, and it's The Mythicals #3, the third book in the series. So if you're just web searching, check that out. I think we're about out of stuff to talk about for today. But thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks
All
for having me.
right. You bet. I believe, Daddy Warpig, that leaves it up to you. Final thoughts and take us away.
All right. We have got, tentatively speaking, guests lined up for the next 2 weeks. So we are busy around the old homestead. So we're looking for that. I believe we've got DJ Butler coming on next week. Sorry, let me go jump in my messages and double check. Yes, we have DJ Butler tentatively scheduled for next week, assuming, bad things don't happen to cause that to go awry, which has sometimes happened before. And then the next week, we have a publisher wrote me and said, here's a couple of cool people you haven't talked to yet who are part of an anthology we're publishing. Would you like to have them on? And I'm like, yeah, those sound like cool people. I'd like to have them on. So we invited them on, and that would be in 2 weeks, assuming everything comes together. So we're looking forward to that. I'm not going to announce their names because I haven't talked to them yet. And even by our standards, nothing's firmed up. So
don't jinx it.
Touch the money.
So yeah, but that's what's coming up. Is some more guests and maybe some pocket review or two before we start. No big news in the gaming sphere. Lots of big news in other spheres, so pay attention to that or not, as is your want. All right. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you not only accepting my invitation, but also having the good grace to allow us to bump you a week when things went bad last week. So
oh man,
very gracious.
Things happen, brother.
Is it time to go?
We're all done. Take us away, please.
All right, folks. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, January 27th, 2025. I want to thank everyone who tuned in and listened live. I want to thank everyone who will tune in and listen later. We're available on youtube.com/GeekGab. Once again, that's youtube.com/GeekGab. Check out the Apple iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, and SoundCloud.com. Download us on the device of your choice. Listen to us on the web or on your computer. We are signing out for today, folks, but don't you worry. Don't you fret. We will be back.